Was the NBA MVP decided last night? Joel Embiid just had an iconic performance last night in the game against the Denver Nuggets. It's kind of similar, actually very similar to the one last year when they played the Nuggets and Embiid went off for almost 50 points. He hit a dagger 3 in Jokic's face. And last year, that was a big deal because Embiid and Jokic were the first and second player in odds to win the MVP. Then they went head to head. Embiid really clutched up, they won the game, and this year we got the same result. Embiid was unstoppable in this game, scoring 41 points, 7 rebounds, and 10 assists. This game was close from tip-off all the way to the final buzzer. 126 to 121 win for the 76ers. Embiid did not get his 10 rebounds. He had a little streak going where he scored 30 points and 10 rebounds in like a bunch of games in a row. He didn't get the 7 boards, but I don't think it really matters. Y'all let me know in the comments, should games like these where you have the MVP frontrunners, 2 of the best teams in the league going up against each other, should it matter a lot when it comes to picking the NBA MVP? Because I know for sure there are going to be some voters that when they're picking who they want to be MVP and they look at the ballot or wherever it works, they see Joel Embiid's name next to Jokic's name, and then they go back and they think, well, what happened when they played each other? Who was better? Embiid was better. So I think this is gonna matter as it kind of did last year. I think this game should matter, but the question is this the night that Joel Embiid locked up his back-to-back NBA MVP, or is there a chance that another player can still win it? Let's talk about it. So there's a few different ways that some of the players below Embiid in the MVP odds can get it, but first, let's take a look at this updated Kia MVP ladder by Michael C. Wrights. This was just posted a few days ago, and Embiid is at the top. However, you guys can see the headline. Joel Embiid maintains tenuous grip on number 1. Joel Embiid stays at the top, but the star is missing games, and other top 5 contenders are surging. This was obviously made before the game against the Nuggets last night, so if we look at the updated version, I would say he's more firmly holding on to that number 1 spot. But let's see what they say. So if we scroll down, you guys can see Embiid is the first guy. He's averaging now 35 points per game, 11.6 rebounds per game, and 6.6 assists per game. Number 2, we have Nikola Jokic, who's averaging 25, 12, and 9, almost a triple-double. So we're going to talk about what Jokic has to do if he wants to take it from Embiid, which is going to be pretty tough. And then SGA, who's right there. I think SGA could arguably be the second guy in the MVP odds. And honestly, I was waiting to record this video. You guys know sometimes I record them the night before, and that's what I'm doing today. So that game just ended, but the game that just ended a few minutes ago is the Thunder versus Clippers game. That was a really big game for me because if SGA showed out, if the Thunder won it, which they didn't, the Clippers ended up winning it by like 10. Paul George went crazy. Kawhi had a crazy block on SGA. It was a pretty good game, but SGA couldn't come out with the win. He only had like 19 points, I think 6 boards, 6 assists. He didn't show out like I wanted to see him show out. If he did, I was considering saying SGA is probably second in MVP odds. For me, I guess he's gonna have to stay at 3, but he's a guy that there's a way for him to win MVP still. We're gonna talk about that. And then at 4, we have Luka averaging almost 34 points per game, 8 rebounds per game, 9 assists per game. Absolutely insane season that Luka's having. However, his team is not that good. So again, we'll talk about how Luka can win it, although it's going to be very tough for him to win it. And then Giannis is the 5th guy, averaging 31, 11.5 boards, and 6 assists per game. Absolutely insane seasons from 5 players in the NBA. And if we keep looking, we have the next 5, which is going to be Jason Tatum. His numbers just aren't good enough. Obviously, the Celtics are the best team in the NBA, so that factors in. But compared to like, you know, Embiid, Jokic, just like his numbers don't really compare. You have Sabonis, who's now 7th. Last week he was 8th. Anthony Davis is 8th on this list, which I don't really think he should be in top 10 for NBA MVP, just because the Lakers are not even in the play-in right now. They are the 11th seed. You know, the Jazz are in the play-in instead of them. And so I don't think they should have any player that's being considered for MVP. Halliburton is 9th. He definitely deserves some consideration. However, he is hurt. And Kawhi Leonard is 10th. He's a guy that I've been very high on. If you guys watched my all-star ballot video that I dropped a few days ago, I mean, I'm not trying to spoil anything, but y'all know I'm pretty high on Kawhi. Next up, we have the Basketball Reference NBA MVP award tracker, which I don't like as much because I feel like it's a lot more analytical. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot more about the numbers. Whereas when you get, you know, the Kia MVP ladder and someone's writing it, you know, they're actually watching the games. They're getting the full stories. This is just strictly off numbers. Like I remember earlier in the year when the Celtics, well, they're still at the top, but when they were really running shit, well, they still are. So I don't know what I'm saying, but earlier in the year, basically, I saw like Derek White on this ladder. I saw Porzingis was like top 10. Like these are guys that are not going to win NBA MVP, but this takes into account a lot of weird things, especially winning. So if you got a team that's winning, they're going to take a lot of players from that team and say, yeah, they should win MVP. And look, Anthony Davis is nowhere to be found on this list. So that's, I mean, I guess I kind of like that about the Basketball Reference tracker, because the Lakers shouldn't have anybody that's in MVP considerations, sadly, unless they go on a winning streak. So one, we have Joel Embiid, then we have Jokic, SGA, Giannis, and Luka. That's the top five, you know, pretty much if you ask anybody. If anyone says there's someone else in here, they're kind of crazy. Then we got Halliburton 6, Jason Tatum 7, DeMontis Sabonis 8, Tyrese Maxey is on this list at 9, and we have Damian Lillard on this list at number 10. They also have the probability that these guys will win MVP, and I know you guys can't see it because it's all the way on the end, and I don't want to make it big because then my face won't be on the screen. But they have Joel Embiid at a 31.5% chance to win. Nikola Jokic is at 31.3, so 0.2% below Embiid. Basketball Reference thinks Jokic is right on Embiid's tail. Now, of course, Embiid just beat him, and this is before, so they haven't factored in the win yet. They have not factored in the Embiid over Jokic win, but before the game, they had him 0.2% behind him. So if Jokic were to win that game, they probably would have said Jokic is the new MVP frontrunner. They have SGA at 15.2% chance to win, Giannis at 10.7% chance, and then they have Luka at 4%, and the rest are below 2%. So just to show you guys how crazy of a season Joel Embiid is having, and I've pulled this up in previous videos. If you guys have been watching this channel for a minute and we've talked about Embiid, you might have seen this chart. But if we scroll down, these are the seasons where players have averaged 35 points per game, which Embiid is doing right now. He's averaging 35.1, and they've also got 11 rebounds per game or more. You guys will notice we have the Joel Embiid season all the way over here on the end, but all the other seasons are Wilt Chamberlain seasons, and then we have one Elgin Baylor season, which he didn't even play a full season, so we really shouldn't count this one, but you get the gist, bro. Like the only people that have put up 35 and 11 in a season is Wilt Chamberlain, who put up video game like numbers. And something else to note is we have Joel Embiid down here on the bottom. This is him. You guys can tell we have, you know, the Sixers. He's averaging 6.1 assists per game. All of these Wilt seasons, you can see he's averaging 2 assists, 1.9. This is the Elgin Baylor season, 4.6. Obviously, Embiid is not putting up rebounding numbers like Wilt. He was putting up 27 per game. That is insane. 24, 22. But Wilt that is insane. I mean, I don't know how he did that, but Joel Embiid is putting up, you know, these assist numbers. So if we factor in the assists, 35, 11, and 6, no one's ever done that in NBA history. So Joel Embiid's obviously having an historical season, but is there a chance for any of the other 4 people in the top 5 of the NBA MVP odds to win and steal this MVP from Joel Embiid? First off, we have Nikola Jokic. What would he need to do if he wanted to steal this MVP? In my opinion, the Denver Nuggets will have to be the 1 seed, because something that we obviously can see with this MVP race is if you're going to win it, obviously all these guys are going to put up insane numbers. So that's a given. You got to put up crazy numbers, but you got to be one of, if not the best teams in the league. I think the Denver Nuggets will definitely have to be the 1 seed if Nikola Jokic were to somehow steal this MVP from Embiid when he's having this crazy of a season. And number 2, what Jokic has to do that will really help, because it'll also be good for, you know, a storyline or a narrative type of thing, is I think Jokic will have to average a triple-double. He's obviously close, 25.5 points per game, 11.9 rebounds per game, but his assists, 9.1. Obviously, if you can get that up to 10, it's a slight change in stats. It's very small, actually. But just having that fact that he's averaging a triple-double on the best team in the Western Conference, that could bode well for him. Obviously, for all the guys we're going to talk about that have a chance to steal the MVP from Embiid, you want to see Embiid also his stats drop. You want to see his stats drop, and you want to see the Sixers drop in the conference standings. If that can happen, that can open up a lot of things. But as things are right now, it's going to be kind of tough. But that's what I think Jokic needs to do. Take over the 1 seed out west, which he's pretty close to, and then somehow average a triple-double, which, to be honest, I don't think Jokic really cares about. But that's kind of what I think would have to happen. If he did one or the other, like if he averaged a triple-double, but they were still the 3 seed, it's close, but I don't think he's going to take it from Embiid. And also, if they were the 1 seed in the West, I still don't think that's enough to take it from Embiid as it currently stands. Next up, we obviously have SGA. Does he have a chance to steal the MVP from Embiid? I will say so, because there still is more than half a season remaining. Now, number 1, again, like Jokic, I think SGA will have to be on the number 1 team in the West. Currently, they are number 2, and they just lost to the Clippers, so I don't know if that's factored in. The Clippers are kind of breathing down everybody's neck, or whatever the saying is. You know what I'm saying? They were right there. And the Clippers have a good chance to honestly finish as the number 1 team in the West come the end of the season. Do they have a guy that can win MVP? No. Kawhi would be that guy, but his numbers just don't stack up against, you know, Embiid or SGA, Jokic, some of these guys. So they could be the 1 seed, but it wouldn't really do anything for their players. It would kind of only hurt SGA and Jokic's chances. So again, yeah, I think SGA would have to have the Thunder as the number 1 seed in the West, especially in a year where no one expected the Thunder to even be like a top 6 team in the West. It's gonna be kind of tough for SGA to win MVP, and the reason is because he's not a big, so his rebounding numbers are not going to be off the chart. However, he does have some of the best defensive numbers in the NBA. He puts up some of the best defensive performances when you look at all the defensive metrics, deflections, steals, obviously, just every defensive metric. He is pretty high in all of them. The Thunder are a top defensive team. SGA is a big reason for that. He locks up a lot of people, but he's not a big, so he's not going to average 10 rebounds per game like, you know, Embiid or Giannis or Jokic. But I mean, Luka is close. So I mean, I guess, yeah, he could get more boards. So something you want to see with SGA and increasing his MVP chances is just better numbers, but I don't know if they can really get better than this. This is crazy. 31.3, 5.8, and 6.3 for him is kind of crazy. So what I think he'd have to do is have a iconic, huge performance against one of the best teams in the league. If they go up against the Sixers, that could be a big one. If Embiid has a bad game and SGA goes for like 45 and they blow him out, or even if it's close and he hits a game winner, something like that could help his case a lot. But as it stands, it's just going to be tough for SGA to steal that MVP. I'm not going to lie. Next up, we have Luka Doncic, and this is kind of a weird one because he's putting up insane numbers, especially for a guard, if you want to call him that. I don't know. He's kind of tall. I don't know. Positions are kind of weird in the NBA right now. We don't have to get into that talk, but I guess Luka's a guard. And he's putting up crazy numbers, rebounding, assists, points. He's almost averaging 34. We'll get into that in a second, but they're the 5th seed, and the Mavericks are a team that personally I thought would be a fringe play-in team. You got Luka, which is obviously insane. You got Kyrie, but after that, the team is really not that good. So I thought the depth would absolutely kill them. And if you get an injury to Luka or Kyrie, like, that's going to hurt, but it really hasn't. The Mavs are somehow, all thanks to Luka and Kyrie a little bit, but he's missed time too, the 5 seed in the West. Now, is that going to keep up? I don't know. There's a lot of teams in this mix here. The Pelicans right here, Kings, Suns, Jazz, Lakers. There's a lot of teams in this mix. Matter of fact, earlier I said the Lakers weren't in the play-in. I guess now they are, and the Rockets fell out, but it's by, like, look at this, literally, look at the percent. Like, it's by 0.001. Like, they're barely in. But I think that the Mavericks would have to be a top 2 obviously, if you're number 1 in the West, that's huge. But even top 2, I think if the Mavs snag a top 2 spot in the West, Luka could have a good case, because let me show you the numbers he's putting up. Absolutely unreal. He's putting up 33.6 points per game, 8.1 rebounds per game, 9.1 assists per game. So if the Mavs finish as the number 1 team in the West, he's got a good case. I'm not gonna lie, he does. Something else is obviously improve your stats a little bit. I mean, they're pretty good as it is, so I don't think that's the thing. I think it's just team success. I think that's valued a lot when we talk about the MVP. And so if Luka can carry this team somehow, I don't think it's going to happen, but if he can carry them to the 1 seed or even the 2, that's kind of what's going to be needed for Luka to really be in this MVP conversation. Last but not least, we have Giannis, who is currently on the Bucks, obviously, and they're the 2 seed. They are 3 games back from the 1 seed. And the thing about this is Giannis and Embiid put up very similar numbers. However, Embiid's averaging 3 whole points better than Giannis is. And again, I think it's going to come down to a team success thing. If Giannis wants to shoot up this NBA MVP ladder and the odds and have a chance of winning, the Bucks are going to have to be the 1 seed in the East. And also the Sixers are going to have to fall a little bit. Embiid's stats might have to suffer, or they will somehow have to fall out of the top 3 seeds, which I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't really see it happening. So that's why I don't think Giannis is going to win MVP. But you know, when you look at his numbers, they're very similar to Embiid's. Similar rebounding numbers, similar assist numbers. I think Embiid's more efficient, so he's definitely got that over him as well. But points per game, Embiid's averaging 35. Giannis is averaging 31. That's kind of the difference. And then the Bucks are a little bit better right now. I would probably say the Bucks are a better overall team, although it's kind of close. It's kind of close. Maybe they're not. I don't know. It's kind of close. But yeah, the Bucks, they're going to have to be the 1 seed, and the Sixers probably got to fall out of the top 3, and then Giannis got a real case at it. But even if that did happen, if Embiid really fell, then you might even just have a better case for, say, Jokic or SGA out in the West, or if one of them is the 1 seed in the West. Then, I mean, I don't know. This whole NBA MVP race is crazy. Right now, Embiid has it, and I think that's all we really need to know. So if you guys haven't, we're uploading daily on this channel on the road to 2K, and click the video popping up on your screen right here if you haven't seen it yet.